All right, good evening and welcome to the March 17th, 2021 regular school board meeting. At this time, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator, Mrs. Moomin, Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Mr. Freeman,
Here.
Miss Mitchell.
Here, all are here and accounted for. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance and it will be led by Board Member Freeman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are at item 1.3 on the agenda. And at this time, I'd like to know, Dr. Rock or Mr. Jolly, are there any additions, changes to tonight's agenda?
No.
Okay, we're just going to pause for one moment. We're having some technical difficulties.
Oh,
Just bear with us.
Seeing that and I can't breathe in this.
Okay, we're not paused online though, so.
That's fine.
Dr. Rock, did you hear me when I said here? Mhm.
excuse me, Mrs. Moomin?
I said, did you hear me when I said here?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I had myself on. Par- Pardon me? Oof.
All right, we're as Mr. Jolly gets online, we're going to go on and have a motion on the floor to approve tonight's agenda. So if I may have a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item 1.3, approval of tonight regular board meeting, March 17th, 2021.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator, Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. All right, we're just going to, as Mr. Jolly's still getting logged on, I just want to take a few minutes. I think most of us were online and we were able to watch the youngsters Black History program a couple of weeks ago, and just want to commend all the students, all
Mm.
the administrators that did the great work. I know we had some technical difficulties, but I want to thank Mr. Jolly and Ms. Heck for continuing to persevere and just, find another way to get that online because it was a really great program. And just want
It
to
was
say
an
kudos to
excellent.
you guys. Just bear with us just a few more moments. And if we as board members can just all go on mute while we're waiting, please. No, no, we can't hear you online. Are you muted? There you go. All right, you have to come off mute.
Okay, we're ready.
Yes, sir. All right. So we are now at item 1.4. for public participation. Mr. Jolly, did we have any public participation notices today, this week?
We did not. Savannah, Ms. Heck reported today that there was no emails in our public participation email address at all. So we do not have any public participation to report today.
All right, thank you, sir. Next on our agenda is item 1.5, high school extended year presentation. Mr. Jolly, I'll hand the mic over to you.
Okay, I'm letting them in now, letting in the high school team. They're coming right now. So they all should be coming. All right, Mr. Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn should be here. Mr. Vaughn, I'm going to defer to you. Do your team need to control the screen, or I do have your presentation ready? So I'll take guidance from the high school at this time. Am I on mute?
Mr. Jolly, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we hear you. Yes, sir. Mr. Vaughn?
I'm here. I'm waiting for Miss. Yes, sir. I'm waiting for Mrs. Shillian. I just spoke with Miss Chiselton. She was trying to get in, and they hadn't let her in the meeting as of yet. Can someone, I guess, who's ever hosting, please?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Perfect. Is Shields in as well?
Miss Shillian is in.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, on behalf of the high school, thank you for allowing us to present today. What's going to happen is that we had some teachers really take this whole task head on, and those teachers will be both Mrs. Shillian and Mrs. Chiselton, and they devised a plan, worked through it with the staff, had a lot of staff buy-in on it. So as opposed to me presenting their brainchild, I felt much more comfortable with them, explaining the situation that they came up with to the board and to the community members itself. And if I have any questions, or you all have any questions, I'm open to answer. But at this time, I'd like to give the floor to Mrs. Amy Shillian, Mrs. Quandra Chiselton, and they can explain our extended school year and our credit recovery program for the high school for 2021.
Do you guys need to use share on the screen, or do you need me to put the presentation? Y'all both are muted, so we can't hear you. Let me see.
Chiselton or Shillian, can you speak?
I think Shillian is having technical difficulties. Well, good evening, everyone. Like you said, I'm Miss Chiselton. So I'll just, while she's waiting to present, what we did at the high school was because we are credit-based, we were working based on the needs of our scholars and trying to go based on what our scholars are going to definitely need. I think that Shillian kind of revamped the presentation, but I can go ahead and kind of just go through part of what she explained in the meeting that we had at the high school. So for the extended year, we are looking at strategically helping our scholars based on needs. Some of our children are going to need credit recovery in the sense that they have not earned the credits necessary for graduation, and they would need to make those credits up. Some of our scholars need just a little more help to get over, because with this year being virtual, some of them struggled with that online component. And so they would only need to make up stuff, meaning that they would end the quarter or the semester with an I, an incomplete, and they would need to make up a few credits or make up the work to earn that part of that credit. And then there was also a CTE component for some students that are working with CTE with Ms. Klingman in graphic design, and them earning a certificate in graphic design, I believe, in Adobe. And so this one here, this explains it. So this is here, credit recovery is for students with Fs. So Shillian actually had statistical information from Mrs. Berlin. And I believe that we found that in the first semester, there was a total of 258 Fs received from our scholars at the high school, meaning those students need to make up those credits. And so what we found out is that based on 17 days, we are able to provide 1.5 credits for scholars to make up 3 semester classes. So for example, let's say that I failed Algebra 1, semester 1. I could take that the first 5.5 days, and that would give me 30.25 instructional hours, and I would be able to earn that half credit. The way credit recovery is set up is that would be an intense instructional time. It would almost be like a boot camp where they would be doing hands-on activities. They would be getting instruction. They would be, doing the classwork in the classroom, doing any type of test prep, OST questions. And this is, with my math mind, doing OST questions directly related to those standards. And it wouldn't really be a homework base, but they'd be building a portfolio. For the extra time and help, that would be kids who did not quite pass, but like I said, would receive it incomplete for the second semester, and they would be working with teachers, and that model would be based on the block schedule that we have now, where they would see 4 classes a day, and they would be making up the work necessary to complete that class. So that's just the extra help, extra time. The CTE certification was those who are in CTE able to get that Adobe certification from Mrs. Klingman. And then the other requirements, and I don't know that I can speak. I don't know if Shillian's ready or if she can hear now to go ahead and explain that. And then the enrichment was more so, I believe, based towards incoming 9th graders and the rising sophomores. A lot of what we notice is that math is a very difficult subject for a lot of our scholars. And so building those prerequisite skills to be successful in Algebra 1 would really help those students. So this is a very strategic plan where we would go based on direct needs of our scholars. So I'm gonna stop there. I don't know if anyone has any questions, and I would turn it over to Shillian if Shillian had anything to add. Because she went through Shillian built the presentation. I just kind of overviewed what Shillian did.
And that's fine. Are you here, Shields?
No,
Shields, are you in?
It looks like
She's
she
not
got
in.
bumped
Okay.
out, Mr. Vaughn.
Okay, no problem. I'll pick up for her. Not a problem. Just for a point of clarity, the reason that we have 2 separate programs running, one being credit recovery and the other being extended school year, is that Ms. Chilton spoke upon 250 some odd Fs that we received at the end of the first semester this year. That's down from roughly 568 Fs that we had coming into this school year. So there were over 500 Fs given at the end of the school year last year, from March 13th to the end for the second semester. So we've done some creative things as it applies to how we planned our schedule. But what this does, in the mandate that came down, or I guess the intervention that came down from the state, the way it worked out, it was that you had 17 days, it had to take 30 hours, and that gave you a half a credit. And Mr. Jolly said, high school, be as creative as you can. And what we did, as opposed to taking 17 days and using 30 hours and only getting 1/2 a credit, we found a way to take those 17 days and allow our scholars to make up 1.5 credit. So we've tripled the allocation.
So, Mr. Vaughn,
the gift about, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a question. So I think Ms. Chiselton said you would do 5.5 days. So I'm thinking that's 5.5 full days of one subject.
That's the question.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you.
It's like a boot camp. Like a lot of times we ran boot camps in preparation for OST, where you would just have 2 classes a day, be it English or mathematics. So the kids are familiar with the boot camp strategy. But in doing that, 5.5 days is 6 hours a day. So our scholars are actually getting 30.25 credit hours, 30.25 seat hours for the half a credit, as opposed to the 30 hours that was projected by the state. So we're giving them more seat time, we're giving them more credits, all in the same 17 days that was allotted. And the only way this could really happen is that our teachers bought into it. The teachers had to buy into it. So this program of extended school year, that is for the current 10th graders and 11th graders. The credit recovery program, which we already have been running for years prior, that is for the rising 12th graders and the current 12th graders to try and get them out, because they may need more than just 1.5 credit.
Can you speak to what's going to happen with the ninth graders?
Yes, sir. The biggest push for the ninth grade school board and community members is to expose our scholars. At the current time, the high school is in a 5-school consortium with, of course, with Bedford, Maple, Cleveland Heights, Shaker, and who's the last one? Bedford, Maple, Cleveland Heights, Shaker. There's one more missing. It's 5 schools. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jolly. But in doing so, there's a lot of CTE programs that are offered. But what happens in the CTE is that we're sending our scholars out, but they aren't taking part in our in-house programs, such as fire tech, such as graphic arts and design, such as computer graphics. We have 4 programs offered at our school, but our in-house enrollment is very limited. So the idea is to have a summer camp per se, and have the CTEs. 1 week it's fire, 1 week it's computer programming, the next week it's biomed. So our kids from our community can get an idea of what we offer. That's the whole thing. It's just to expose our scholars to the programs that are afforded to our community, because the kids from our school are going to other places for the cosmetology, for the we have our home ec, and the culinary program is offered at our school as well. So we're just trying to expose our incoming 9th graders to those things.
All right, Mr. Freeman, you was muted, Mr. Freeman, when you was talking.
I would like her to speak if you want to, Mr. Jolly. I see her on there
Ms.
now.
Ms. Shillian, would you like to add something to the presentation? You still muted.
Open the top, Shields.
No, she'll have to start from the beginning. Miss Chisholm did a great job of explaining. But if she want to put some icing on it, it would be great. She's still muted though. Let me see. Say is she froze now?
I think she froze.
She froze.
Go ahead, Miss.
Mr. Vaughn, can you hear me?
She could come out and come back in. Yeah, we can hear you, Miss Mooman. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vaughn said that our students have 258 F. How many students are we talking about? Are we including the remote student as well as the in-person student?
It's the whole. It's all the students.
It's all the students?
Remote and in-person.
And we have how many students now, Mr. Jolly, in the high school?
I mean, it's about 525.
We have 525 now. Ooh.
Is she okay now, Mr. Jolly?
Miss Shilling, can you speak now?
She's still on mute.
I'm trying to unmute her.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yep.
All right.
You now.
I apologize for my technical difficulties. I haven't had to set up my computer in my house in a while. All right. So, Ms. Chiselton, would it be possible for you to share the slideshow again, just because I'm on a different computer now?
Actually, I think Mr. Jolly shared it. He shared the original one, not the one from today.
This is the one I got from Mr. Vaughn. Okay.
Okay, so that's actually an old one. Yep, that's different than the newest one because I know that, hold on. Give me 1 second, I'll get the updated one.
You guys updated today, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And Miss Shirley, you don't have to go through the whole thing. Miss Chisholm did a great job of going over it. So you can just
Excellent.
give us some highlights that she might have missed, but she did an eloquent job of explaining all the different pathways for students.
Oh, excellent. So were there any questions because I was unable to hear originally? Were there any questions that anybody asked that were not able to be answered?
The last question I heard, Cheers, was from Board Member Newman, and she asked was the 200 and some odd Fs that we have right now, were those reflective of virtual students or all students? And I explained to her that was all students, 9th grade through 12th grade.
That is correct. And so this is the new slideshow. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
All right. So basically, I got data today from Miss Berlin that high school scholars failed 528 classes just first semester of this school year. So assuming that numbers are similar for second semester, this means that they have failed to earn over 500 graduation credits, which puts our scholars at a deficit moving into, trying to graduate in a timely fashion. So was this the slide that Chiselton went over?
Yes.
Yep, she went over it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. So basically, I created a little spreadsheet of what it would look like. And it sounds like she did a great job of explaining this. So the two different pathways, it basically, the big difference between the high school and the other schools would require two different schedules for students. Some kids would be on the 17 days that are all the same, and then other kids would be doing those 3 different rounds of 5.5 days each, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions pertaining to this?
I do have a question. So the goal was to have our juniors and our sophomores together in the one quad?
In the credit recovery?
No, for the extended learning.
The extended school year would be, so the current freshmen and sophomores mostly, which yes, would be the sophomores and juniors moving into next year, hopefully.
And how are we engaging these scholars? Have we have commitments of attendance, or have we talked about?
I can speak to that. So we're going to do we will start signing students up in April. So we have not done that yet. We're strongly encouraging every student in the district to attend. With those numbers and those failures, it's advantageous for all students to participate.
And my last question is, if I'm a senior and I'm short of credits, can I do the recovery and extended year to get credits on both sides? Can I get my credit recovery credits? Can I get my extended learning credit?
We never thought about that, Mr. Freeman.
I can answer that.
Go ahead. I didn't think about that.
Theoretically, if a student, let's say they need half a credit, so let's say they need a half of a geometry credit, and they were to take the first session of geometry for 5.5 days, they could get that half a credit, but then they would only have the remaining days to finish their work and get that extra help that they needed to pass, those other classes.
Would that be through credit recovery?
No, that wouldn't be through credit recovery, because the credit recovery is specifically that one subject. So if I need, let's say I received an F and have 0 credit in Algebra 2. So the first week I would do my 5.5 days in Algebra 2, but then I had a 59% in biology and I had a 58% in something else. The remaining 11 or so days, I would go switch schedules and go to those classes and make up the missing assignments to earn the remaining credits in those other classes.
Let me bring some clarity to it real fast, ladies. Mr. Freeman, what happens with the extended school year, that can only be, we can only address classes that they're currently in this year. When they go to credit recovery, they can redo courses that they failed 2 years ago.
And that's
So
computer based.
yes, sir.
So that would be computer based. That's what we traditionally do is credit recovery, which is computer based with teachers in there to assist the students. So this is two different pathways for credit recovery. We got an in-person credit recovery. Those are for students, current students this year who failed the class. And then we got the traditional credit recovery for students that we've always had is computer based where they can take as many classes as they need. Our academy is under that concept of that credit recovery where students sign up based upon their individual needs. The program that they have is unique because it's an opportunity for them to work with the teacher and make up the time in a real quick fashion. 5.5 days, they can make up a half a credit. So it's actually another pathway for students to be successful.
Exactly, but also, Mr. Jolly, with that, what we're looking at is them being able to ask questions, get that understanding, and then especially for the testing subjects, tying the testing release test questions back into that instruction so that if there are students that need to take those still graduation tests, that they would have that support and build a portfolio of resource to be able to study from.
Right.
So you were saying if I'm a senior and I fail 9th grade algebra and 10th grade algebra, you're saying I can go back to credit recovery and take those two so that I qualify to graduate, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And that's the traditional way. That's how we always do it with credit recovery. They have credit recovery now at the high school. So a senior more than likely will go into the traditional credit recovery. The alternative pathway that they provide, or it'll be for 9th and 10th and 11th graders who failed classes this year that are currently enrolled in those classes. So it's a little different.
So today, how many seniors do we have?
I believe 104 seniors.
104? Oh, wow. Good.
And do we know how many are on target to graduate, or how many?
Yes, ma'am. We have 110 right now enrolled seniors, and we currently have 21 that are not on track to graduate, but we have devised a plan for 15 of those so far. And I have a senior meeting right now at 7:00 with all those parents.
Okay.
It's going to be held in our gymnasium.
And with that, a lot of those seniors are going to have to come back to school in person. So they're going to have to come back to school.
Right.
Repeat that, Mr. Jolly. I didn't hear you.
The ones who are not in school in person, we're going to require them to come back in person to school.
Oh, okay, good.
Because, but we know it's going to be a whole bunch of different situations that we're going to have to work through because this pandemic, a lot of the high school students got full-time jobs.
Right.
Which has prohibited them from being active students like they normally would be. So we'll work through each situation, each circumstance, have a plan for each student to graduate. If they don't make it, we'll do all we can to make sure that they have that opportunity. If they put in the work and time, then they will graduate. Today, I just found out that the testing requirements, I think, were waived today, so that the kids don't have to pass the OST. I received notice of that right before this meeting was passed. I forgot the House bill, but I'll get that information out as soon as possible. So that will provide some relief for some of those 21 that's on that list.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so high school team, I think you answered the questions. I just want to say you have an outstanding plan. Your plan meets the needs of our students. That is our goal, to make sure we meet the need of every student. I commend you on your work, Ms. Shirley and Ms. Chiselton, and Mr. Vaughn on the outstanding work. And again, I will say this is all pending MOU from the union for this to move forward in this form. So once we come with that MOU from the union, we will bring the MOU to the union to put it on, and then we can formally start this process. So thank you, high school team. We appreciate your time and your efforts.
Thank you. I'm going to go to this meeting, boss.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, board.
All right.
I just want
All
to say
right.
that I just shared the slideshow in the chat, and I think I changed the permissions so that everyone can view it. I'll go ahead and never mind. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up.
Agenda's still in your hands, Mr. Jolly.
All right. So next we have the Tiger Way Awards. Let me take that out. That up. Let's see. And I have the distinct honor today of announcing our two Tiger Way Award winners for March of 2021, Mr. Mark Kendall, fifth grade science teacher, and Mr. Crawford, Keenan Crawford, a bus driver, our bus driver. He's our most senior bus driver at this time. Mr. Crawford cannot attend tonight, but Mr. Kendall is on the meeting. Well, I'm going to start with Mr. Crawford. He was recommended. I said Mr. Crawford is worthy of his award because of his hard work and dedication as a school bus driver, who truly has a passion for this trade. Not only are his students fond of him, their parents admire his character as well. His willingness to help out whenever he's needed speaks volumes, not to mention his impeccable attendance record. Mr. Crawford is a pleasure to work with and a good friend to all. I do want to speak to Mr. Crawford. When we started in March, Mr. Crawford was with us every day, feeding the students every single day when the pandemic started. Never missed a day. Was out on the route with us, passing out lunches. Got to know all the students. And he showed me how big of a connection he has to the community. This award is well reserved. So kudos to Mr. Crawford.
Kudos.
Any board members like to comment or anything about Mr. Crawford? All right. Next is Mr. Mark Kendall. Mr. Mark Kendall is very diligent with his work and works very well with the Encore team. Mr. Kendall deliberately updates me on his curriculum in science, which in turn encourages interdisciplinary teaching. He recently went downtown on Saturday to get teachers in our building Lysol wipes, donations, and deliver them to our classrooms. He is always a team player. I'd like to also add Mr. Kendall is an outstanding science teacher. Anytime you go by his room, you're going to see projects, you're going to see kids doing hands-on things, you're going to see kids engaged. Mr. Kendall is a teacher that makes students like school and enjoy going to school. And it is an honor to have Mr. Kendall as a science teacher in our district. This award again is well reserved. Is well deserved for Mr. Kendall. Mr. Kendall, would you like to say anything as the recipient of the Tiger Way Award? Mr. Kendall?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I get my camera open too. I think it's
Okay.
open now.
We can't see you.
Let me see. There we go. How you
There
doing?
we are.
Got the steam shirt on.
Oh, okay.
Today was I want to first thank everybody. It was nice. I was driving home from school on Monday, and Miss Pettigrew called me, so it made the ride a lot nicer. But yeah, I was very touched by that, and it was nice to see. And you know, I like to thank like everybody, the board included, everybody here, because the job's been easier and easier every year as we've gone along, especially these last 5 years. But like I've had a great group. Mr. Bond left early. I was going to give him a shout out. He was real supportive when in his first year because I was working under him, and I was going through a rough time just with a lot of drama and stuff, and he really brought me through and sort of mentored me and got me back on path. So I wanted to thank him. But and then Miss Bishop's been phenomenal too. It's just great to have administration from the board down through Mr. Jolly with the support they're giving us. It's really making the job easier. and being in the new building and with the last 4 years and then with COVID, it's just been nice to see all the support and everybody's coming together. So makes our job easier. And I was trying to think what else was. Yeah, so when they come by the room today, we did our windmills, and you know they're starting to get more comfortable and more persistence, the students, because they give up too much, especially on these projects. And I'm seeing a lot of change just the last month or so. Like today, if they make a mistake, they're starting to be more diligent with it and taking more pride in their work. They're real excited. Miss Davis was actually helping out today with our STEAM projects, and it was fun to have her in the room, and she was excited too. So when everybody's on board, it just makes everything so much more pleasant. And I mean, I couldn't do it without the help of them, and then of course all my teammates and that. So I do appreciate it. I'm just hoping, and it's good to see that with the new building and the other one coming up, because to be honest, it's frustrating now that the state, the way we raise funds is still unconstitutional and frustrating. And a zip code should not dictate whether you are successful or not. And that just hurts me, because where you live should not determine if you have an education and all these other things. So that's what I really bring to the table here, because, you know, you shouldn't have to drive across one block and then have people getting everything and nobody else. So I got home today. My dad had passed away over the holidays, and my mom had dropped. I'm sorry.
We just already hear that.
Condolences. Yeah, our condolences.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Jolly actually texted me, and that was very kind too. That really made it meaningful. But anyhow, I got home today. My mom had dropped some stuff off here. She was coming to get my one daughter because they're on break, and this is something I made in kindergarten. And this is what I tell the kids. I go, you guys got to, you know, take pride in your work and save some of the things you're making. You don't want to throw out something that you created. At least take it home and let your family enjoy it. But I'm like, this is 1977. And it was just weird that it was here. But I was thinking of mentioning how if they take more pride and ownership when they're creating these things, and then it's more meaningful. So having those opportunities, we had so much good, like the STEAM stuff that Ms. Ray had for us today was phenomenal. Each kid had an own bag, and it just made it so much easier, and the kids were really getting into it. So that's, again, I'm very pleased to be honored with this, and I appreciate everybody here. And we're just going to keep moving forward and get through one day at a time. I think we're going to do great things. Keep it up. So I appreciate it again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kendall, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to both you and Mr. Crawford. Glad you were able to join us this evening.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna proceed on. Anybody would like to add anything about Mr. Kendall? Again, great asset to our district. I do want to. I know I've been talking about this in the school year, but I just want to give some FYI on how extended school year gonna look, so the board is aware. We did send a letter out to parents, just giving them an explanation on what the extended school year will look like. Again, we have not brought it to the board yet for approval. But we are getting information out so people can make informed decisions once it happens. So the extended school year is basically 17 days of instruction. It simply extends the school year to June 30th. The reason why we want to extend it to June 30th so that everyone has the whole month of July off. As you've seen, each school has a different plan on how it's going to look. So everybody has different concepts of how it's going to look different here than it will. Should parents participate? I had a long talk today with a teacher, and I had to talk with a principal yesterday, and they're saying that they see our kids are probably about November or almost 4 or 5 months behind in the proper development for the grade level. That conversation it sparked the urgency of us even doing extended school year. We started talking about this in November. We didn't need the governor to say we needed extended school year. We understood that with kids not being in school, some out of school, some in school, that we needed to do something. So we started this planning. We had a committee of union members, administrators, So going through to talk about how it looks. So now we're here. We actually have MOUs with both unions out for them to review.
Mhm.
Once we prayerfully get approval, we'll bring them to the board. So we want the kids should, we want 100% of the kids to participate because everyone is affected differently. Those
Right.
who are excelling, we would do enrichment with them. The ones who need help, we're going to catch them up. I understand that it's more school, but it's necessary and needed. Will it be offered online? No, we want kids to come into the building to get it.
Good.
The online um, is not beneficial. Um,
Mm-mm.
it's an option for parents, but the ESL would be on in person. Um,
Virtual.
what's not moving? Okay, so it's going to operate just like the regular school year. So the classes will be the same. You know, the school day from 8 to 3 o'clock, from 9 to 3:30. That's how the school day would look. What material will my child review and learn? So it's basically they're going to be given individualized instruction plans. They're being tested now. We're going to start the fourth quarter with kids being in these groups, and these groups will be flexible. As kids learn, they'll move to a different group
Mhm.
or different area, and each one of the students will get their own have their own plan. So basically, with the test, they identify just say Donald Jolly, I'm missing this, I'm missing that, I'm lowering this standard. I'll get basically a plan to fix that. And then once I master this, I move to the next. Once I master this, I move to the next. At the high school, as you can tell, they have different pathways because they have different constraints with them.
Mhm.
They have to earn credits. Um, and each school did present their plan to the board. The first school they did the first meeting, then high school the second. Will transportation be provided? Yes, it's extended school year. Be the same thing as we are doing now. Will lunch and breakfast be provided? Yes, everything kids will eat. Nothing changes about what we do. About currently, it'll be extended to the summer. Um, So what grade will my child attend for extended school year? So it's not really gonna be graded, it's gonna be skill based. You know, if you're a
Mhm.
second grader and you need a first grade skill, you can
Mhm.
get a first grade skill. Our goal is almost like you got a pot and the pot got
Mhm.
holes in it. You want to fill those holes in the pot so that you could grow the plant. So we know that the pandemic and all the different things that have went on there's cracks in the foundation of some of our kids learning because they haven't been here. So what we want to do is fill those cracks. Individual, because Miss Moomin, your crack might be different than mine, Mr. Freeman, Miss
Mhm.
Gator, everybody's crack is different. So each child will be analyzed to determine where their crack is, and I hope that's a good analogy. And then our
Mhm.
staff will fill those for each one individually, so that when we get to the end of this, a second
Mhm.
grader is their foundation is full, prayerfully,
Mhm.
and they're able to get what they need for the next grade. Enrolling, so we're gonna do a enrollment process in April, so that parents can enroll for about 3 weeks, starting spring break. 3 weeks, we're gonna do a big push. We're gonna have
Mhm.
teachers call every parent, just like we did when we came back to school. We're gonna do it on internet calls, everything. We want to strongly encourage every student to attend. The issue with mandating it is that it's so late. You know, people got summer
Mhm.
plans, and then we will have to punish people for not coming, which I don't think is fair to a parent who didn't expect this at this time. So, requiring everybody to come might end up with somebody missing 17 days because they're not even in Cleveland in the summer because they go to their parent house. You know, they might go somewhere else for the summer. So as we plan for next year, we want to make sure that when we approve the calendar, that all of this is out front in the beginning of the year, so people can make the plans accordingly. Any questions when it's all come? The principals who devised the plan will be able to answer any question parents have. So at the next few board meetings, we will be talking about this and sharing with you the plan. We will hopefully be bringing the MOU to you as soon as possible. from the union to say they agree to participate. And then from there, we will start the process of getting ready to go. Any questions or concerns at this
I
time?
just have a quick question. So when you bring it to the board, can you include possibly a plan B for those students that can't make it when we're doing, offer them something?
So what we want to do for plan, and I will, we have thought about
Uh-huh.
that. Starting next year, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
similar to this. As we start next year, it's going to be similar. So kids who didn't participate, we're going to catch them up in August still, because this process is going to be ongoing. I don't think we can make up 5 months in 2 months in 17 days. So, but we will have a plan for the ones who can't participate on how that's going to look moving forward in August. That'll all be part of that conversation about next year and how that will look.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, I just, it's just a red flag that just came into my mind, and that's only because those kids that is not doing well right now, I'm trying to see what can we do to motivate, encourage parents, and to show them how important it is for them to come for those 17 days. Because those kids that is already behind, and then they don't come for those 17 days, is a very high concern for me. I just want every parent to please let your child participate in this end of the year, the
Yeah,
17 days.
when we did a survey, it was about
Uh-huh.
85% of the. It was only 300 respondents though. 85% of the 300 respondents stated that they were participating.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
but we didn't do all the calls on that survey. So when this next one come, the sign up come, just like we
Uh-huh.
did return to school, we touched every parent in the district and got a response. That would be the same process with this. We're gonna touch every parent and get a response.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, let me proceed on. The STEAM fair today. These are just some pictures. I know
Oh,
some
I
board
missed
members
that.
saw some of the work today. I'd just like to just give kudos to the person who organized it. She was here last night. I was here
Mhm.
at 9. She was here after 9. Miss Ruth Ray. Let's give her
Mhm.
a round of applause. Miss Ruth Ray
Good
did
job,
an
Ruth.
outstanding job with a virtual STEAM fair.
Mhm.
As you saw today, kids were engaged in all type
Right.
of great activities. And I am so excited about when we can actually do one in person. But Miss Wright and all the teachers who supported Miss Wright, Miss Dickerson was here with her last night late, helping her set up.
Mhm.
Um, and all the teachers who have on the STEAM team and work hard with her, and all our great scholars who over there that the board did dedicate to Mr. Chambers. And we got to get, now that everybody's getting vaccinated, get him into that room so he can see the room that will be dedicated to him. So I think we should plan that very soon, get him in here so he can see the room that's dedicated to
Okay.
him. Um, so outstanding work, Ms. Wright, and students and STEAM team teachers.
Right. Oh,
Next, I just wanted to give a COVID update because Dr. Reynolds gave us a great report today that currently we're going to knock on wood and everything else and wish God the best, that we have 0 confirmed student cases and 0 confirmed staff cases as of today. And then the last individual was isolated. They
Mhm.
ended their quarantine today. So there are some people that's out due to close contact, and that's the
Mhm.
proper thing. But I'd like to thank Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds has done an outstanding job with this COVID and
Mhm.
managing and isolating people
Oof.
and ensuring that that everyone is safe. So for us to have all these people working, all 300 employees, we got
Mhm.
about 800 students that's actually back in school. Um, this is a good milestone for us. And we'll knock on wood on it because you know it could change in a minute. But prayerfully, with everyone getting the vaccines, we'll continue on this path. Also, the Eastwood Community Meeting next week, March 25th. Um, should be one that's our first one. We'll talk about what the future of Eastwood. I know that we will have a meeting next week, a special meeting next week to discuss more in detail what our presentation would be. But again, this is the first of a series of meetings. We have our John Dewey meeting, which is going to be on April 14th, and our Westwood meeting, which will be on April 28th. For the district and the community, the school district is undergoing a tremendous transition at this time with properties, with things coming down. Um, the middle school coming down in June and July. The construction and beginning construction of the stadium and high school this fall. There's a lot of things going on, and there's going to be a lot of information that will be going out to the community, to the board, and these community meetings. We encourage people to log in and hear what the great news, and because you're going to see it, but so that you're aware of what's happening before it happens. So um, today we did have a meeting about, and this is facilities, but we had a meeting about the ball fields and the stadium. This is the first one we had about it. So we got a projected timeline once the middle school is down and they get the land cleared and all that, that they could start in the fall construction of the baseball fields in the stadium. So once we get confirmation that's a fact, but it's more likely is a fact because it's part of the construction um, process that they're developing and ensuring that everything falls in place. That is very exciting for us in our community. And to a side note, you see the new basketball courts outside, and you see how the community is using it already. We had to fully open it because they were going in it without us, which is good. They wanted the opportunity to participate in space. And I want to commend the Warrensville Police Department who works with us on a daily basis to ensure it's closed at night and ensure that our property is adequately locked. Just tomorrow night, virtual family night for students with disabilities. We encourage all our parents with disabilities or without kids without or with disabilities to log in tomorrow. You see the registration, and those are the topics brought on by Miss Lindsay and her team tomorrow night. Another announcement, Coach Swift, as all of us know, has been a staple of our basketball team for the last 10 years as a coach. Coach some of our kids in the room, and he also, went to the high school and was a player. Last time our school went to the Final Four, he was one of the players to the championship. He was one of the players on the team. Decided to step down from his basketball coaching duties. He will continue to be our AD, and um, and he will continue to do a great job of building our programming up. So I just want to acknowledge Coach Swift and his 10 years of service to the district as basketball coach. Then also winter sports, we had a special winter season. A lot of people got a lot of awards that I don't think people are aware of, but I just wanted to share some of those. Our girls program, first time in the history of the school district, were district champions. Outstanding job by our coach, Ortney Bryant. Um, Mr. Swift in his last season, Coach Bryant was the girls' coach of the year. So first time in our school history that both our girls and boys coaches were coach of the year. Also, first time in the history of our school that the girl and boy player of the year came from Windsor High School with Miss Jay Salters and Mr. Ramel Arnold. So just out, the talent and the work ethic of the athletic program and the girls, just commend them on being recognized at that high level. And then the final roar. So at our last meeting, I shared that we have a committee of alumni. We have a staff that are working toward an event on Friday, May 28th and May 29th. So we have a meeting tomorrow, in which they're fleshing out what things are going to look like. At our next meeting, we should have an itinerary of what's going to what the events are going to be. So we've invited alumni from a wide range,
Mhm.
from the 70s all the way to David Hughley last year, to try to get everybody's ideas and thoughts on how this can work. One of the things that we got to make decisions on, and we're gonna come to the board. We got a whole bunch of memorabilia at the middle school, whole bunch of stuff, and what to do with it.
Mhm.
That is a concern. What do we do with all that stuff? I know some things we could preserve and take to the new building, but it's too much to take. So possibly allowing alumni to take stuff, doing silent auctions, some of those things are some things we're going to bring to the table, or the liquidation of some of those things. And this is practice for the next year as the high school goes down. What do we do with the history? One thing we want to make sure is preserved. The history is preserved. But also we don't want to take a whole bunch of stuff that's junk and clutter that's irrelevant, not irrelevant, but would be of more value to an alumni or someone whose name might be on the trophy or something, or a lot of things do have people names on it that would probably be more valuable to them than putting it for us. So that concludes my report. I know I went through it fast and a lot, but there's a lot of things going on in the district at this time. Um, but we're going to keep pushing through. And as I get information, I'll push the information to the board, and then we'll push out to the community. At this
Okay.
time, I'm open to any questions.
Good enough.
I know I went through a lot.
Board, are there any questions?
I don't have any.
I just want to, for Coach Swift and our athletic director, I've known him in life. He's my former neighbor when I was in college playing football. He was always coming back. He's a state champion with Chanel. He took this district, Warrensville, to a state final, and we were a runner-up. But it's going to be different. And I know for Miss Gator, not seeing him on the sidelines in basketball, he had her son Q, and they did a great job. But I'm going to miss him on those sidelines because everyone knows I get a little crazy at those basketball games. But I'm going to definitely miss him. And I want to give a kudos to Miss Ray and her staff and everybody today. I came a little late, but I like everybody had their T-shirts. The educators was all involved, even security. It was a great time just seeing them having all the T-shirts and doing that STEM fair today. But yeah, just I'm gonna miss Coach Swift. I know he'll be our athletic director, but I'm gonna miss him on the sidelines. That's it.
I do want to add the search for a new coach has already started. So the job was posted last Friday. It's very important that we have a hire sooner than later because
Mhm.
the summer start as soon as possible. And one of the things we do want to look for in the coach is the person that's going to build the program from this school, from the elementary school, all the way to high school. That is so essential. The vision when we built as we planned all of these things, that they would be used by our students and community. When we were kids, every rec program was in
Mhm.
the schools. Kids that actively could participate in all type of things. Um, the as you are aware, the board in this city is responsible for recreation. I think that's our next frontier is improving recreation programs in the city. So that's what that'll be coming to you too on how we can do that because that is essential as we build the whole child. I know we working on the academic part, but then also you gotta work the other part. And I know all of us who went here, we had kids here. It used to be baseball, it used to be
Football,
basketball,
wrestling.
football, all those things for little kids, and it all disappeared. So now we got to get it back, and that will help the community and help our students in these schools. So I'm actively working, trying to work with different groups to come in and do, until we can do it ourselves, get somebody else to help us. But we got to get it back. Okay, that's the end of my thing. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Anybody
Ms.
else? I'm sorry, I just been talking.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Jolly. That was a really good and very thorough update.
It was.
As we move forward, we're on item 1.8, and so Dr. Rock, we're going to hand the mic over to you to do the treasurer's report.
Okay, you could go to the next slide, please, Mr. Jolly. Tonight on the board agenda, there's going to be the Cuyahoga County tax rates resolution. This resolution, what it does is it establishes the tax rates for 2021, which will be collected next year. Okay. The Budget Commission, what they do is they reach out to me and we review all of the tax rates and the projected collections and come up with the rates for the following collection year. We could go to the next slide, please. With that, this is another spot where the board can see the fruits of our labors. The bond finance model is in full action here. If you dig into the report where you see where the bond rate for next year is going to be 9.4 mils. And someone will say, well, why is that important? Well, it's important because we have actually voted mills up to 16. But remember, in the first 5 years of the financing, we were going to charge a lower amount so we could pay off the old bond. And as the old bonds are paid off, then the early finance structure payments for the new bonds, the structure works. So that's great. This is another great spot to see our finance model working for the district. And we covered that in past board meetings on the substantial amount of dollars that we did save on refinancing. And that also interacts with these millage rates. And the current balance right now on the old bond, the 2015 bond, is $7.6 million. And it will be paid off in December 2024, which really isn't too far away.
Nope, not at all.
So just a little snapshot for that. The next slide, please. So also tonight is return of advances. Return of advances is when the general fund loans money to a fund that has a negative balance at the end of the year, but that fund is going to receive reimbursements in the next school year. So that's what return of advances are. And now the money has come in already. It funneled in around November, December. So now we're doing the bookkeeping to get it to return the advances back to the general fund. The next slide. Operating transfers. This is where the general fund transfers money out and it's not returned back. There's two primary ways that you could have an operating transfer, and that's for funds that don't have enough of a specific fund activity. They don't collect enough revenue to function. And also there could be a Ohio Revised Code requirement to transfer funds. We have one of each. The athletics fund, in order to run all the programs, we have to make a transfer into that from the general fund. And this is typical. In fact, a typical school district would have more operational fund transfers. They normally would have food services and maybe even another ancillary fund. So we're in good shape that we only have to do one operational transfer. Our food services program runs in above grade and it doesn't need any operating transfer. So it runs very well. And then the other one is, now that we have new buildings, per the Ohio Schools Facilities Construction Commission, the OFCC, and Ohio Revised Code, we are required to transfer $500,000 each year into a maintenance account in order to maintain the new buildings during the finance period, which is over 30 years. So roughly $183,000 is transferred in each year into that fund, and it's put in there for like a rainy day fund for substantial repairs or maintenance that we need in the new buildings, and that's required by law. So we have two operating transfers, one that we have to do because of the fund program itself, and then one that we have to do that's required by law. Next, the next item on the agenda is builder's risk insurance. And this is for phase 2, which is the new high school, new middle school. And it covers the construction period to December 2022 22. And one may say, well, why is that extended out? Because we're expecting to get into the building in July, August. We added the time on now because it's easier to shut the insurance off early than it is to add months onto the insurance. So we picked that, and plus it's a calendar year end. So that boded well for us. The total cost is $59,406. And it's a great price when you consider that this building that we're in right now, the coverage was $28,000, and phase 2 is at least, it's 3 times bigger financially and probably 4 times more of the size physically. So you could tell that that's a good price to get the coverage for that. And with that, that concludes my section.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rock. We're going to move right into section 2, and if we can have a motion on the floor to approve by consent agenda treasurer's report and financial recommendations, for items 2.1 through 2.6. Once we have the motion on the floor, then we can discuss and ask Dr. Rock any questions.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we accept as a consent agenda treasurer's report and financial recommendations for items 2.1 through 2.6.
Thank you. May I have a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, the floor is open for any, questions of Dr. Rock? Or either, Mr. Jolly with the studio, the broadcast studio.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the technology purchase is Chromebooks for next year for our ninth graders and our kindergartners. And then the broadcast studio in this building, we actually built a studio in this building, a green room, basically where our students can broadcast basically a television show or anything from that room. That was part of the design, in which, so in this room is right down the hallway. You'll see it, the lights and everything. We could do announcements from there. The board could do a broadcast from there, and we could put it on social media, anything. We could do our own broadcast. It's a 21st century TV studio. What Mr. Kendall said about zip codes, you could drive to this zip code and the elementary school can do it, and drive this zip code, the elementary school can't do it. We have a unique opportunity to provide our students something that no other students in this area has. And it's part of what the design was for the building from the beginning. Dr. Rock has allocated the funds to pay for it. We have one more project here in this building is to put a projector in the gym also. We don't have a projector in the gym. So Jonathan is working on that so that the community, the school, whatever, we could show movies here. We could do all kind of things that, again, sets us apart. So that's why we bought it. We've been working on it. I did bring it to the board late, and that was because we had to get the pricing revised. So with that, I just ask for the board support on that and answer any questions.
Able to incorporate that something at the high school some kind of way? I'm thinking career.
It's in a high school plan.
Okay.
The one for the high school. That will go bigger and better than this. This is a small one. The high school one would be.
All right, thank you.
But I want to say, we have the ability now that we can do anything in there that we can't do now. We have to pay and go to, we be paying people to do it. That's when we do all these broadcasts and stuff. We got to pay a company to tape us and things. Now we have the ability to do it ourselves. So,
That is great. And it does give us an opportunity for the little ones to start learning young and be exposed to that type of career opportunity at a young age.
Right.
Board, are there any other questions?
No question, just a comment. This is fantastic, Mr. Jolly, because I've been reading about equity, and this is really an example of equity coming into our school for our children. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to thank Dr. Rock and thank Superintendent Jolly for updating. I thank Dr. Rock for explaining most of these items to me today. So I want to thank him.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Hearing
you.
no other questions or comments, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda, we need a motion on the floor to approve by consent agenda. Item 3.1 of the superintendent's recommendation and presentations for board action certified staff. Thank you. Member Gator, may I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, ma'am. Board, are there any questions, comments on this section? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda, we need a motion on the floor for consent superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action classified staff. And here we have one item, 4.1, resignation.
Madam Chair, I move item number 4, the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff, looking for item 4.1.
May I have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Excuse me, board, is there any comments? Questions? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda, we need a motion on the floor to approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendation and presentations for personnel and programs. And here we're looking for passage on items 5.1 through 5.5.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept as a consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentations for personnel and programs, items 5.1 through 5.5.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, the floor is open for any discussion or questions.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Superintendent Jolly for item 5.4, the agreement with the YMCA with the program. If you could just give me a quick summary of that real quick.
Yes. With the Y, that allows them to use our facility to do before and after care. So we have a sliding scale with them, which we get 3% of the profits initially because their enrollment is low, and then we revisit it. So this is the standard one we negotiated years ago. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we negotiated this contract with them. Again, our parents need before and after care. We have lost students because of before and after care, and the YMCA providing that for us has been a great asset. So it's not lucrative for us at all, but it provides a service. So it provides a service for parents in our building. And it allows, we have people here anyway, but it's not lucrative at all. It's not a money maker at all, but it provides services. And it's the same one we had before, basically just a couple.
All right, I'm pausing because I don't know if anybody else can hear. We're on a very severe delay today. So if there are no other questions, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. At this point, we are on section 6, district policies. And we are on the second reading of policy volume number 39.1. And thank you again, Mr. Jolly, for you and your team giving us the revised policy 1520. So didn't know if you wanted to walk through that before the board voted on these.
Yeah, I just wanted to add 1520. We did not have all the names of the administrators on there. All the names have been included with including the executive assistants were added to this. So it's current now, reflecting what we had in the past.
Thank you, sir. So with that, if we can have a motion on the floor to approve item 6.1, our policy volume 39, number 1.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept item 6.1, policy volume 39.1, second reading, final adoption.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Jolly, thank you so much to you and the team and to the board for all the great questions that were asked during our first reading and subsequent conversation, not conversation, but questions that were asked via email. At this time, is there any further discussion, comments on any of these policies in this volume?
No,
None
I
for me.
do want to. Maddie is out on. She's out right now, so we will get them updated as soon as possible. Miss Pacey is in her place, and Miss Pacey will. She'll get it done. It's gonna take a little longer for her to update it because she's just learning how to use board docs. So we'll get them updated as soon as possible. Maddie won't be back for a while, so we will
Mr.
have
Jolly,
Miss
you
Pacey,
do have
get it done.
Viola at your disposal too.
Oh,
If you need Joe to reach out to her, or if she needs to reach out to him, they can help her.
I'm gonna connect her with Joe.
Yeah, he's a good
tomorrow.
resource.
No,
Or anybody at
we'll get it.
Neola.
Yep.
Thank you for that reminder. If there are no further questions, comments, or discussion, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is item 8. And this is where the board updates are going to be given for the NAB. Oh, that's a typo. NSBA Equity Symposium. We'll have brief updates for the Pepple and Wagner School Negotiations web workshop. And then we need to talk about the OSBA Informed Governance Seminar Series. So I'd like to remind each of us, we always try to stay within 3 minutes of our updates. And I do believe members Gator, Muman, and Freeman attended the Equity Symposium. So we're going to go in alpha order. And Mr. Freeman, if you'll give your update first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is my 6th actual equity symposium that was actually that I attended on February the 10th, 2021. This year it was actual online. It was a little bit different, but I thought it was a great equity symposium. We had over 2,000 public school members across the country attended online. I liked the gentleman from Harvard who spoke, and he told his story being from Atlanta, which he was not a fan of school, and how he had met an educator who gave him the initiative to bring him and support him to challenge him in his educational journey that led him all the way to Harvard. And then he took that along with all the education he got, and he set up a program that he brings people from Harvard to show them, and they can see firsthand what they're doing. And I thought it was a great program. I'm glad that I attended.
Thank you, Miss Gator.
So I was also going to discuss the gentleman from, I can't remember, was it Atlanta, Philly? But
Atlanta.
I was also equally impressed with what he had to say. So I'm not going to go back over everything because Ray touched on a lot of what I was going to say. You know, the only other thing is he had a philosophy on education that really stood out to me. He said his philosophy on education is love first and teach second.
Mm.
He said heart is the gateway to the mind, and it made me reflect on the many teachers that I know we have in our district who in their own way share that same philosophy. So yeah, I truly enjoyed that. The other one that I can talk about briefly, there was discussion on equity at board level, and the whole discussion was about what does it mean? What does governance mean? Um, what do we have to do as government teams to embrace equity? Why is it important? They said one of the most important things that there needs to be is a definition of defining inequity or equity for our district. Equity doesn't always mean equal. It means filling the gap. They said specifically different students should get different things to help them to succeed. So, so as I was listening to it, every year we attend a conference where they talk about equity, and we say, well, but you know what? Our district is different, but we're really not that much different because all schools have certain inequities that they need to address. So I would like to say at some point, we might want to consider drafting our own equity policy that speaks to the demographics of our district. So I thought it was a really good conference, especially being virtual. I like the fact that I don't have to fight to get into a class, or rush to get there. So it was good.
Good. Thank you, Miss Barbara.
Well, actually, I think Mimi and Ray have said everything that I was going to say, but I truly, truly enjoyed the symposium. I look at this young man was talking about one particular teacher I'm going to say just actually saved him. And when I think about equity, I think about surrogate parent, because actually that what teachers are, surrogate parent. And you have to show that child that you love that what you're doing. And when you show what you're doing, the children is going to enjoy learning. I truly enjoyed that. I enjoyed the panels because I could relate. I could see us in a lot of the situation. So the question is, what do you do? I think right now we have some excellent teachers, excellent teachers. And I'm thankful for that because of the fact that at the end of the day, I feel that each one of the teachers is going above and beyond to reach the need of our children. And at that symposium, that was the main focus. How you reach the need of our children? How do you want them to learn? And like I said, if you got a positive teacher who's showing that love, the kid's going to be okay. And I'm going to go back to my daughter because I had to work every day, but there were several teachers at the high school and at that middle school that took her up under their wing, and she enjoyed school. She excelled in school because of those teachers that invested in her education. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'm just glad that I'm sorry about the pandemic, but I'm glad the pandemic allowed others to finally be able to go to that symposium.
Right.
So good deal, and I'm glad you guys were able to attend it.
Hold on too long.
Madam
All right,
Chair,
next. Yes.
if I can, I just want to remind all of our board, I know that we are actually registered for the online National School Board Association annual conference that will be in April 8th through April the 10th, 2021 this year. We should be receiving our packages soon, and they should be coming to our email. And I also want to thank this board for allowing me to be a steering committee member on the CUBE steering committee. And this year we did have some great candidates, and I was able to chair that selection committee. And you should be having those candidates that were slated and the one running from the floor coming to your emails. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 8.2, updates from Pepple and Wagner, the school negotiations workshop. And Mimi and I went to that, so I'm going to let you go first. We'll continue doing.
Yeah, mine is going to be brief on that one. I honestly feel as though that might have been a good one for Earl to attend, just to get a really good review of what the negotiations process is like. My biggest takeaway, and Tracy and I, kind of discussed this a little bit, is that we're doing things exactly the way that they're in the workshop, primarily because there are attorneys. The other thing that really stood out to me is the fact that prior to Mr. Jolly coming, negotiations did not go like that. We were actually, lost, I guess, that the Board of Education did not negotiate in good faith, and that's not who we are today. Honestly, I really just kind of want to throw some kudos out to Mr. Jolly and all of his team, as well as the union partners, because we've come a long way. A long way. There's a lot of trust, and we're truly a partnership. And that was honestly what I got out of that session. So I thought it was, it definitely would have been a good session for Earl.
Yeah, I agree. As I listened, I think I listened to 3 out of the 5 and a part of the 4th one, but all I saw was the great work that our team does in negotiations. We work with a really good firm. They have done a great job for us, and I literally saw what they presented to us. We follow by the book, and that's why we've been so very successful. And I'm just thankful that we have that partnership.
Yep.
All righty. Next on our agenda is OSBA Informed Governance webinar series. I put this back on here because I wanted to see if there were any school board members that wanted to attend, but I think Mimi and I tested something out. So if you want to attend, you just have to let us know via email which sessions you'd like to go to, because we should be good. Is that a safe way to put it, Mimi?
I'm sorry?
Is that a safe way to put it?
I'm not hearing you.
I'm sorry. I was just stating we should be able to just let you know which ones we want to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're good. We have access.
Right. Just so everyone knows, the only one that Dr. Rock has ordered for me at this point is the one on student achievement. It's probably about an hour and a half long. They're good for 30 days, but I didn't want to order all of them because I'm not going to see them all, within 30 days, more than likely. I sent it to Tracy to see if she could open it. And if she can open it, I really want to encourage you guys to take a look at it. I can give a brief overview really on that one, Madam Chair, because I did start looking at it. I stopped when we got about student funding, but it really is honing in on something that we learned in our retreat with Ms. Keys. What does decision making decisions following a government model look like? The fact that we don't bog ourselves down with administrative details. The thing that really stood out to me is the discussion about how we are the keeper of the vision. The board focuses on vision, goals, policies, strategic plan. Mr. Jolly and his team will strategically implement all of those things by ensuring the correct procedures. So I think that Deborah, kind of opened up the door for us to really kind of embrace what our role is. And as Earl and I were talking with OSBA yesterday, at least what I said, I think he agreed with me, is that we really want this handbook to embrace the fact that we are truly trying to look at things from a governance model. And we wanted to somehow memorialize the good work that we've done so that board members that come in behind us don't, go back into micromanaging unknowingly. So yeah, I really want to encourage you guys to take a look at it. And maybe at some point we could have some discussion because they brought up some good points and tips on things that we could do to make sure that we're really looking at data the right way and asking the right questions.
Yeah. Dr. Rock, just remind me, we did approve Mimi to attend all of them, right? So yeah, so we have access. We have access. So we don't have to take a vote. So as you take, because there are a few that I did want to take. So as long as we have access, we're good.
Yeah.
So with that, I do thank you for that update. And I thank you for the forward thinking of looking at how we can memorialize what we've done, because we've done a great body of work since at least I've been on the board, and I'd hate to see all that hard work go to waste, because I think we've done a great job together turning things around.
I agree.
The last item on our agenda is item 8.4, OSBA Leadership Institute, the virtual conference is April 23rd and 24th. We've already been approved to attend, so we just need to let Dr. Rock know who will be attending that conference. If we could just show by raise of hands. Mimi, who else is going to attend?
Madam Chair, I may attend that. I will let you know later next week.
Okay.
And it's virtual, right?
Yes, it's virtual.
So far, Mimi for sure.
Mimi for sure.
Ms. Mitchell, on governance, I remember at the last meeting, we just approved Mimi to go to the one, and we said we'd talk about the other ones. So you might want to just put a motion out just to approve the other governance training series.
I'm sorry. I thought we had approved her to go to all of them.
I know they were all on there.
Yeah, we
had them all
listed.
listed, but then you just approved one.
Okay.
And said you're going to talk about the other four.
Well, then let's just go on back to item 8.3, and we'll put a motion on the floor to have a board member attend one of the three remaining ones so that we can make sure they're ordered, but we will not order them until the board member speaks and says they want to, since there's a 30-day time frame on having to watch it by. So may I have a motion on the floor, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we add to the agenda OSBA governance webinars. I'm not quite sure how to say this.
It's just it's on the agenda, just going on and approving the 4 sessions for a board member to attend. It's 8.3.
Yes, I'm sorry, I see it. Yeah. So yes, Madam Chair, I move that we accept item 8.3 OSBA Informed Governance Webinar Series approval for honestly any board member to attend any of the following professional development courses. But I say any member because we want to be ordered that anybody can use it.
Right. Thank you. May I have a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, can we please have a vote? Dr. Rock, I'm sorry, Dr. Rock, can you please call for the vote?
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin? Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Miss Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. So again, as we make our mind up who wants to attend which session, because I do know there is one that I am interested in attending, and we'll just let each other know by email, and then we'll copy Dr. Rock, Mr. Jolly, so that it can go through the financials, the proper financials.
Yep, it's real easy. Just let me know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Dr. Rock. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Could you put me down for the leadership conference?
That's what I'm going back to. If you just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going back to item 8.4 OSBA Leadership Conference. So far, we had Mimi as a yes, Ray as a maybe, and now Barbara as a yes. Earl, will you be attending?
I'll let you know as I gather more information
Okay.
around the dates and my
Yep,
availability.
I need to do the same thing. So we have 2 definites, Dr. Rock, Muman and Gator, and then 3 we'll let you know would be Mitchell, Freeman, and Roberts.
Got it.
So we'll need to let you know by when.
I'll send out an email on the deadlines on that one. I'm sorry I don't have that written down.
No. It's here. It just doesn't. I bought it with me. There's no deadlines, and probably because the cost is so low, and it's virtual, so there's no need for a deadline. So just let Dr. Rock know ASAP. The 3 of us will, and then we can work toward getting the last of us registered. So with that, we have exhausted our agenda for the evening. Dr. Rock, is there any correspondence?
No.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jolly, are there any further announcements on behalf of the district?
Oh, no, ma'am. No more announcement.
Okay. With that, if I can have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move that this board adjourn our regular board meeting, March 17th, 2021.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you so very much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.